Thanks for joining us on the Nikki Maduro Show. I'm Nikki Maduro. She is Kim McAllister. Hit that subscribe button. And a reminder, if you missed our announcement yesterday, starting next week on Thursday, we are returning to a live show. It's going to be an evening show, 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock somewhere. We'll be popping cocktails or mocktails or whatever you want to drink and going over this week's political news, any other type of news. We will be live. So join us live, or you can catch it anytime because of the magic of YouTube. So that starts next week because I got another full-time job. So, but we're not going to abandon the Nikki Maduro Show. So join me and Kim McAllister next week live on Thursday nights at 5 o'clock because it's always 5 o'clock somewhere. Okay, Kim. So we've had a couple of days to digest. History again has been made with Kamala Harris because in 24 hours, she was able to raise $81 million, which sets a presidential donation record. It's almost as if the Democrats are like, we need to stop Donald Trump. So she has got a boatload of money and it just keeps flowing in. And not only that, Kim, according to the Associated Press, more than 1,000 delegates have told the Associated Press or announced that they do plan to support Kamala Harris at the convention, which is more than half of the delegates she needs to win the nomination. Yeah, it's not in the bag.
Secured it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's she's on her way. So not a coronation, but I'm just saying, like, it does seem to look like everyone is lining up, right?
Can I tell you that Republicans appear to be scared?
Oh, they look so scared.
Let me tell you this. So Donald Trump had agreed to at least 2 presidential debates. The first one, a disaster for President Biden, right?
Absolute, yes.
So the second one is supposed to be held this fall. Well, according to the Huffington Post, he is moving, Trump, to shift his commitment to that second presidential debate. He doesn't want to do it. He says he thought that the rules should change now that Biden is out and Vice President Kamala Harris is a likely contender to replace him. He said, this is his quote, "Now that Joe has, not surprisingly, quit the race, I think the debate with whomever the radical left Democrats choose should be held on Fox News rather than the very biased ABC."
Oh, give me a break. I mean,
so he's backpedaling. That's what he's doing.
He's scared.
He's scared of debating her because she'll clean the floor with him.
Oh, absolutely. He does not want to run against Kamala Harris, the prosecutor versus the felon. I mean, it's the storyline, the narrative is writing itself. And again, I feel like he never wanted this. And what's surprising is they kept projecting that they wanted it, like Joe should drop out. He's too old. But I also think they didn't really think that President Biden was going to call the bluff. Like, because Donald Trump would never put the country before his own interests.
Never.
He would never do that.
And so this is interesting for all the times that the Republicans and Trump have said, Joe Biden needs to drop out. Joe Biden just needs to go, right? Yeah. They thought he wouldn't. And he did. Here's the other quote that he throws up on his Truth Social. He says, "So we're forced to spend time and money on fighting crooked Joe Biden. He polls badly after having a terrible debate and quits the race. Right. Now we have to start all over again," writes Trump. "Shouldn't the Republican Party be reimbursed for fraud and that everybody around Joe, including his doctors and the fake news media, knew he was not capable of running or being president? Just asking. No, you shouldn't get your money back because you're a dumbass."
I mean, the truth of the matter is that Donald Trump and the RNC should have been prepared for either, right? I mean, you should always have a plan B. But at the same time, what they're going to try to do is run the same type of, this is what I would imagine. They'll try to run the same type of campaign, just swap out the name Joe Biden for Kamala Harris. Like everything that Joe Biden did, Kamala Harris did. Because I think that Kamala Harris is also going to try to do the same thing. All the successes of the Biden-Harris administration, Kamala is going to try to run on, right? Which I think is absolutely the correct way of going about it. Right. The difference is all of Trump's zingers about Joe being slow and age and doesn't know where he is. Now all that just falls right back on Donald Trump. And he can't talk his way out of it. And now all of a sudden, all of the flaws of Donald Trump seem to be extremely glaring. And it'll be interesting. I mean, I think that the problems that Donald Trump also has and that makes him unpopular, he's reverting back to, right? After the quote unquote assassination attempt, he was all about unity. The minute Kamala Harris came out and said that she's going to be running, that all seemed to go by the wayside. Absolutely. There is no call for unity. He's hating on her. He's questioning the validity of her citizenship, yada, yada, yada. Now Kamala Harris, she's one of our super PACs, or a super PAC for Kamala Harris, I should say, has come out with an ad. I'm going to play it for you right now. And again, the reason why a lot of people don't like Donald Trump is because he's taking away fundamental rights, i.e. our reproductive freedom. Here's the ad.
They'll stop at nothing.
Well, I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
The Republican Party is committed to banning access to abortion for all women in this country.
But Kamala Harris won't back down.
Vice President Harris hammers Republicans on the issue of abortion rights for women.
With so much at stake, we don't have time to waste. Resilient, relentless, fighter. The time is now. Women Vote is responsible for the content of this ad.
So there you go. I mean, it's already starting. I mean, they're not going to forget that Kamala Harris is going to fight for reproductive freedom and that Donald Trump is responsible for Roe v. Wade. And again, they're going to try to blame Kamala Harris for the border, and they can't without also admitting that Donald Trump stopped that bipartisan border bill. So, it's a double-edged sword for him.
I hope, and I know you've talked about before how being a woman and a woman of color and all the things that Kamala Harris has been through in her life has probably toughened her up and thickened her skin. But what's going to come at her is going to be brutal.
It is.
They're going to drag up every old boyfriend, every old affair, every old everything. They're going to be racist. They're going to be misogynist. It's going to be awful. And I hope she has someone around her kind of protecting her from the majority of it. I don't want her to be hit with it. I want her to, she has this confidence, and I don't want that shaken.
I mean, it's Kamala Harris, though, Kim. She is not new to the political game. So the Associated Press, they actually have like a couple fact checks about Kamala Harris. So one claim, Harris is not an American citizen and therefore cannot serve as commander-in-chief. Completely false. Harris is a natural-born U.S. citizen. She was born October 20th, 1964 in Oakland, California. The next claim, Harris promised to inflict the vengeance of a nation on Trump supporters. That is a fabricated quote attributed to Harris that's spreading online 5 years after it surfaced. The remarks did not come from Harris, but from a satirical article published in 2019, shortly after Trump supporters like musician Ted Nugent reposted the comments without noting that they were fake. And then, this is the one you're probably, concerned with also. Harris got her start by having an affair with a married man, California politician Willie Brown, but it's missing the context. Brown, former mayor of San Francisco, was serving as Speaker of the California State Assembly in the 90s when he and Harris were in a relationship. Brown had separated from his wife in 1982 and was separated from his wife during the relationship, which was not a secret. So separated, not divorced, doesn't freaking matter. Who is at fault for all of that? Willie freaking Brown. Who was separated? Willie Brown, not Kamala Harris.
People will say, oh, she slept her way to the top.
F you.
No, she was elected as the senator from California.
Exactly.
Right?
Attorney General.
Attorney General. She was, no. And I often say, and I don't believe that she was given opportunity because of it, or that she chose to sleep with him just to get an opportunity, but whatever. It's not the opportunity, but it's what you do with the opportunity.
Exactly.
And she has risen because she's capable and she's a leader.
Exactly.
That's why she's risen. And that's the end of it. Right. Meanwhile, over in the other camp, you've got Trump, who's sleeping around on all of his ex-wives and his current wife. You've got him sleeping with porn stars and playmates.
Yeah.
And who else knows who, right?
He's a convicted felon because of all of it, too.
And so that's okay. And we're going to look away from that. But we're going to chastise a woman because she slept with someone many years ago.
It's ridiculous.
It's hypocritical and it's outrageous.
Now, as far as other women, we talked about this yesterday as well. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer saying she will not, she's not interested in being vice president, but will co-chair Kamala Harris's campaign. So that's exciting. And then Eric Holder is running Kamala Harris's vice presidential vetting process.
Nice.
So that's going to be kind of interesting as well. And then apparently, those closest to Kamala Harris are trying to recruit former President Barack Obama's campaign guru, David Plouffe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. So apparently he was, very instrumental in getting former President Barack Obama elected. He was actually recently interviewed. I think this was by MSNBC. I'm going to play you a little bit. This is, again, David Plouffe, whatever, former campaign guru for President Barack Obama, talking about what Kamala Harris needs to do in as far as campaigning. And it's really, really interesting on what he has to say. Here we go.
The first interview? What's the first video you're going to record? What's the message? Are you going to travel to what states and when? And then there's the inside game, which is how are you putting together a campaign to win? And I will say this, you had Jen O'Malley Dillon on your program Friday. She obviously was representing the world as she knew it then. It changed very dramatically on Sunday. There's nobody better on the planet to figure out how to get to 270 electoral votes. So the good news for Jen and Kamala Harris and everybody is if they have pieces they have to fill in, there'll be plenty of people willing to do it. But I think everybody has to understand the challenge. And I think Kamala Harris is up to it. I've been very impressed by her appearances and interviews over the last few weeks. And she's a prosecutor and he's a criminal. Like that matchup. And listen, let's not forget, the biggest issue in this campaign was Joe Biden's age. If Donald Trump gets elected, he'll be older than Joe Biden on Inauguration Day. Okay. And this guy is showing serious signs of unfitness, yes, in terms of his character and the positions he holds, but in terms of his decline. He is really, really having trouble reading the teleprompter. He obviously, the RNC speech was bad in tone, but he couldn't follow instructions there. So this should give us all great pause. So I'm excited about this. And I think the Trump campaign doesn't seem like they were as prepared for this switch as perhaps they might have been. They seem like they're kind of grasping. I guess they're talking about plastic straws and whatnot, which is not a compelling message.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like I'm encouraged by this. I like to see the Republican Party, on the defense because we've seen the Democratic Party so much on the defense lately. And it's just refreshing to see it being energized. We need to keep this momentum up. We need to be prepared and we need to have the right people. And I hope that, former President Barack Obama's campaign guru and the right people in the right positions at the right time. Hopefully we have them all lined up.
I will say day by day, it looks more and more like more Democrats are coming out in support. We had yesterday Nancy Pelosi.
Yep.
We have all the support kind of consolidating and gelling around her, and this kind of momentum, this upswell of momentum that started the moment that Joe Biden came out with an endorsement of Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
That is kind of this moment where this groundswell of support came up. And so there are all these congressional members that one after the next are throwing their endorsement behind her. So it looks pretty good for her.
I mean, and again, I think that this is what the Democrats wanted, and this is why they were so. And again, it still breaks my heart about Joe Biden because he is such a good president. But now it frees him to continue and end his presidency on a higher note and also throw all of his power behind it. I want the biggest send off of Joe Biden. I want MFN montage of the amazing work of Joe Biden. I don't want any sort of,
convention.
you know what I mean? Like I want people to remember what he did in 2020 and what he's done since then. I understand that there are some people that like to debate, obviously inflation is a big issue for a lot of people. There's this clip from Bill Maher that I'm actually going to, I think I'll play. Should I play that? No, I'll play that for you guys tomorrow because we're going to talk about the Republicans more tomorrow. But I understand some issues. It's like, I'm still paying a lot more for groceries. I'm still paying a lot more for all sorts of things. Well, Joe Biden can't convince corporations to lower their prices because they fooled you that it's because of inflation, right? Like, he can't do that. But I mean, there's
Del Monte, this is the president. How much are you charging for ketchup?
Exactly. Like, they're going to keep the prices high so that you blame Joe Biden. But again, I just think that people are just forgetting all of the things that Joe Biden has done. On the other hand, I'm very excited about where we're going. I'm very excited to see who the Democratic nominee chooses for vice president. We were talking about that yesterday. Shapiro from Pennsylvania, Governor Shapiro. He was on recently talking about Kamala Harris and being excited for her. I want to play this for you. Brace yourselves. There's a little bit of cussing from this gentleman. And I'm wondering if this is to kind of appeal to the younger voter, like we're not messing around. So this again is possibly the next vice president. We don't know. He's just a name that's been brought up in a state that we definitely need. Josh Shapiro.
And you know what? I think they want to be led by someone who is honest and decent, someone who's actually on their side, like Joe Biden. And all they hear from Donald Trump is a whole bunch of whining about this country. And I think Donald Trump's got to quit whining, got to quit trying to divide us. I mean, consider this, Jen. We're producing more energy than ever before in this nation. We have the strongest economy in the world, and we are beating China for the first time in decades. More people went to work this morning in America than at any other time in our nation's history. So I got a message to Donald Trump and all his negativity and his whining. Stop shit-talking America. This is the greatest country on earth, and it's time that we all start acting like it. And you know what?
So, I mean, it's true, though. Like, during that debate, even though it was really bad for Biden, did you hear Donald Trump was doing that? He was shit talking America. I mean, he wasn't the uniter. He wasn't building us up. And if I was any other country's leader, I'd be looking like, oh, America is weak. Donald Trump just can't say that we're weak to be hating on Joe Biden. We're not. And we should be strong and we should be united. And just because Donald Trump wants to convey that so it makes him look strong is a load of BS. So I think Josh Shapiro is right. I don't know if he's going to be the VP, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I thought it was pretty
interesting
funny
to see how it works out.
Yeah.
And apparently they're already vetting vice presidential candidates for her.
Oh,
they're moving
absolutely.
forward. They're pushing full steam ahead.
Yeah, Shapiro says, I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals. He's like being demure about it. He says it's a deeply personal decision the vice president will make, Kamala Harris, of course, and she should be able to make the decision free of any sort of political pressure. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the vice president, Kamala Harris, and possible Democratic nominee, appealing to younger voters, and the idea of her being what's called a brat. And if you don't understand why being a brat is actually a positive thing, then you're probably old. And it actually is a good thing. And this is the other thing. Kamala Harris is younger, or younger. She's Gen X, right? So
How old is she? Like 52, 53?
No, I think she's going to be in her, like, around 60. Like, so she's like probably mid-50s.
I think she's mid-50s. Yeah, I think she's mid-50s.
Mid-50s, right? So I would say, definitely younger when we're talking about presidents, right? Mm-hmm. So definitely a good age. But she's also, I would say, hip, right? And I don't want to be I feel like when you're from the Bay, you're just a little hipper than other parts of the country. Sorry, I'm from the Bay, so I'm biased. But she just is, and so she knows how to dance. She knows current music. And so kind of like Obama was hip, right? Like listens to current music, knows what the kids are talking about. And so we'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll make you guys hip, okay? So I'll try my best at least.
A friend's mom who is on Facebook, and I'm friends with the friend's mom.
Okay.
Posts these very conservative Trumpian kind of things on Facebook all the time.
Okay.
And I just kind of ignore it, whatever. But one of the things she posted was something you just mentioned, which is Kamala Harris dancing. She's actually like a good dancer.
Yes, very much so.
She wrote, they want this woman to be the president.
Why not?
As if, and I'm like,
and
that's a bad
what's wrong
thing?
with dancing?
Like, that's all you got? That's it? What is that, unpresidential or something?
It's better than Donald Trump's like.
Yeah, come on. You know, you had mentioned earlier all the money that came in the first, day and a half of Kamala Harris being like the heir apparent.
Yeah.
Did you also read this, that nearly 30,000 new volunteers signed up to help her campaign in the first 24 hours? 30,000 new volunteers.
I have gotten tons of texts constantly on my phone. Like, are you voting for Kamala? I'm like, you could.
You're muted all of a sudden.
My fault. Can you hear?
You're back. Yeah. It took a second.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't think you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I can. Yes. Thumbs up. Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can. Thumbs up.
I can't hear you, but anyways. Okay, so I got a ton of text messages on my phone. I'm like, you can stop texting me because I completely am going to vote for Kamala Harris. So you don't have to worry about that at all. But I've gotten so many. And so I'm really, really happy that a ton of people have volunteered to campaign for her.
I keep getting the messages to donate to the campaign. And I got the weirdest one. So I got a bunch from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and other people saying, this is happening, donate now, blah, blah, blah. From the Democratic National Committee, donate here, all these things. And then I get one yesterday that's from the Kamala Harris campaign, and it says, apropos of nothing is the title. And then it says, please donate. And I'm like, that's the weirdest message to try to get me to donate. And it just had like a, donate here. I'm like, okay, just random and strange. I'm like, you're gonna need to do better at that than convincing people. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, again, you're preaching to the choir. You've got me as a voter, vote blue. But what I do, and again, we're going to talk about this more tomorrow, getting younger voters, because that was my big worry, is that people weren't going to get out to vote. And I think that Kamala Harris has energized younger voters, LGBTQ voters, women, all sorts of things, which Donald Trump is not going to be able to do. Okay, let's switch gears just briefly before we end the show, because I did also want to touch on the other big news that's been happening, which is the incompetency of a different type of woman, which is the director of the Secret Service. Yeah. Now, I don't care that it's Donald Trump or whomever. Absolute failure at his rally during that assassination attempt. And what's really interesting about the whole entire thing is across the board politically, everybody is basically in agreement that the director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, failed. I mean, the buck obviously stops with her. There's just no way. This is a little bit of an interaction between Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz and Kimberly Cheadle, the U.S. Secret Service director, just regarding the issue of too many guns in America and obviously what happened at that Trump rally. And
from Director Cheadle, this is simple English.
Go ahead.
More guns. Do they make your job more complicated or less complicated in protecting these 36 clients and visiting heads of state and heads of government that come to Washington?
I think the Secret Service needs to take into account.
I didn't ask that. I'm sorry. I asked a simple question, which deserves a simple answer. The ubiquity of guns, dangerous weapons in America, like AR-15s, has that made your job, that is to say the mission of the Secret Service, easier or more difficult?
I think the threat environment for protecting our Secret Service protectees is always difficult, and that's dynamic and it's always evolving.
We stipulate it's always difficult. Again, this is a simple one.
Yeah, simple.
Does the ubiquity of guns make your job easier or more difficult today?
I understand the Second Amendment rights of individuals.
I didn't ask that question. I'm not questioning the Second Amendment. I'm asking a simple analysis, Director Cheadle. And I can tell you, you're not making my job easier in terms of assessing your qualification for continuing on as director. Please answer the question.
That was Democratic Congress member Jerry Connolly question.
Yeah.
Is that the craziest thing?
Yeah,
like she won't answer.
Connolly. Yeah, that was Connolly. And I want to play the one where she actually freaking answered it. So here we go. And that was Jared Connolly. This is the one with Jared Moskowitz where she finally answered the question. And again, it's so crazy. Oh, here, hold on.
I want to follow up on Representative Connolly's question, in which he asked about guns, and you were not willing to commit that makes your job harder. This is not about the Second Amendment. If there were over 400 million guns on the streets, if all of those guns were machine guns, would that make your job harder to protect people?
Again, I think weapons that are out there.
If all of those guns were rocket-propelled grenades, would that make your job harder?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Perfect. This is not a trick question. Thank you. Okay. 15 things I was going to do. I was going to do drone strikes, but it's okay.
I mean, that's how ridiculous this line of questioning went with this woman. She should be fired. I mean, she's going to be fired.
Why is she being so combative? She should be up there going, you know what? We failed. I failed. I'm sorry. Here's my resignation. We're very fortunate as a country that the loss of life wasn't greater. Yeah, and so, clearly things have fallen apart here, and I'm, buck stops with me, and I'm done. Well, why does she show up there, and why is she so combative? Why can't she just answer the questions?
Well,
she's losing her job anyway.
Exactly.
She's done.
She acknowledged
so just
the
answer
start
the
of
question.
It. At the start of it, she acknowledged that it was a colossal failure, right? And then Ro Khanna, actually from California, said, "Do you really genuinely, in your heart, believe that you being in this role is what's right for America at this moment?" And she said, "I will remain on and be responsible to the agency, to this committee, to the former president, and to the American public." And she said, "I think I am the best person to lead the Secret Service at this time." So I don't know if it's ego, if it's covering her ass and just, I don't want to make this admission, if it's, I won't get a job if I say those words. I don't know what it is. You're losing your job, lady. You're losing your job. The person of the Secret Service that's there during an assassination attempt loses their job. Sorry. You know what I mean? It's just, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And so we will obviously see what happened, but there, apparently, according to Cheadle, no resources were withheld from the Trump rally, although Congressman Jim Jordan pressed her on whether she lied to the nation because the morning of the shooting, the top spokesperson for the Secret Service forcefully denied allegations that the agency had rejected any requests for additional security. For the event in Butler, Cheadle said there were no requests that were denied. And Jordan said, well, maybe they got tired of asking. That's what Jordan was saying. So she was being extremely careful, and I don't know what's going to happen, but she should get
25 years of experience in the Secret Service. She'd been there a long time. You would think that she would have been able to pull this off.
Well, you do a good job until there's a mistake, and then all of a sudden everyone says you're not good at your job.
Yeah,
right?
But a mistake, we're talking multiple mistakes. We're talking no one there a day ahead of time to see allegedly a drone fly over and check out the area.
Yeah.
We're talking your snipers stationed in a place where they couldn't see everything.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, this is what I think. It could also be like just laziness. I don't know.
Rally goers or people standing nearby seeing what's
Seeing
happening.
it, yes.
So this isn't just one
many
mistake.
Lapses.
This is like a failure of multiple levels. So what the hell?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's the buck stops with her and she needs to lose her job. I don't know, especially right now in the middle of the peak of the presidential election season, if now is the time to change guards of the Secret Service. But maybe we do need to, because obviously there were lapses. So I don't know. It's above my pay grade, but why do you think
she's being so belligerent?
She looks like she's I don't want to be sexist here, but she looked pissed, didn't she? I don't know. She didn't look like she wanted to be there. I wouldn't want to be there if I was going to be having my ass handed to me on the national stage.
So you go there with your hat between your hands and your tail between your legs or whatever saying it is, and you go there and you're going to get reamed upside down the one and down the other. the best you can do is make yourself likable and honest and answer as the best you can.
There was a failure, and I take full responsibility for the actions.
Get belligerent and nasty. That's just going to make it worse.
I don't know if she was so much nasty as evasive. She was evasive, and it was pissing the politicians off. You know what I mean? Like, answer the friggin' question. And then I know the Democrats turned to gun control and guns, and so maybe she just didn't want to get into that whole entire thing. But again, it does seem that she should have done exactly what you're saying, Kim. Just take full responsibility and keep saying the same thing. There was a failure. The buck stops with me. I am committed to figuring out what went wrong so it never happens again. Period. End of story. Keep repeating it. And I mean, I don't even know, could she face charges for this? I doubt it, obviously, but it's crazy. The absolute lapses in security that allowed this to happen.
What's your answer to that question? Because I know mine. Mine is, obviously, having AK-47s around doesn't increase the ease of my job, but this is the way America works.
Exactly.
This is the reality in which with which
These are the laws
we have to operate in.
Exactly.
And so trying to second guess it doesn't really get me anywhere, right?
I would look at these Congress people and be like, well, you guys would be the ones that pass the laws regarding the guns that are allowed on American streets. So you would have to tell me whether or not it makes my job easier. So you obviously think it makes my job easier since you guys don't seem to want to regulate the guns.
Thank you.
So.
Right?
Exactly.
There's so many things she could have said that would have been so much better.
Kim, it's that she doesn't have us on her shoulders. She should have us on her shoulders doing something like that. All right, you guys, that's our show. Again, tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is a brat, but it's not a bad thing. It's apparently a good thing. Also, the Republican Party, it was less than a breath long in this call for unity following what we were just talking about, the assassination attempt on a former President Trump. And J.D. Vance, for everybody talking about Trump 2.0, did you see him at a rally? He is no Donald Trump. Even with Trump's cognitive decline, he does better than J.D. Vance does at a rally. But there's another GOP official that's getting vilified for what he said at a rally. So we'll talk about all of that tomorrow. Another reminder, starting next week, the Nikki Maduro Show will be live on Thursdays. We're going to do 5 o'clock somewhere, 5 o'clock Thursday evenings. You can catch myself and Kim McAllister right here live. We'll pop cocktails or mocktails or coffee or whatever you want to drink, and we'll talk about that week's political news and all kinds of news. So don't forget, starting next week, we will be live right here on a Thursday, so join us then. Hit the subscribe button and that thumbs up. We really appreciate all of you guys. The super chat is also live as well. And we can't do the show without you. So please subscribe to our Patreon by going to thenikkimadoroshow.com. The Patreon link is there, as well as PayPal. Go to paypal.com. And the email address, of course, is thenikkimadoroshow@gmail.com. And then support our sponsor, Auntie Tabby's Island Flavors, by going to auntietabbies.com. She has a guava barbecue sauce and 2 hot sauces, a hibiscus flavor and a pineapple flavor. And use the coupon code NICKKIM, NIKKIM, and you get 10% off every single time you order. All right, you guys, love you. See you guys right here tomorrow. And until then, bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. Miss Brown, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.